Let's talk about the top 10 best games I played in 2024.
Top 10 of the year.
Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald. In this episode, we're going to continue counting down the best games I played all year long. These are games that, I played them, I reviewed them, and I immediately wanted to play them again. These are games I'm excited to teach and show off to people who come over to visit. And they're not all games that came out in 2024, I'll be honest with you there. Last time we talked about some games that were a little bit older, although this time we're going to talk about some newer games today. These are games that I couldn't wait to practice more and get better at them. But this time around, we are talking about some newer games, some games that were released this year, at least in Canada, they were released this year. We're deep in the Ides of the top 10 list. We're going to talk about number 6 to number 4. Let's get right down to business.
Number 6.
Number 6 on my list. This is one that's probably will come as no surprise to anyone who's followed this channel. I love trick takers, and this is one of the greatest trick takers I've ever played. It's a game called Mori from All Play Games. This is a game that it's criminally underrated. It has a 6.7 rating on Board Game Geek, which I just cannot wrap my head around. Maybe it got review bombed, I don't know, but this is a fantastic trick-taking game. And like I said, if you've watched the channel, you know I like trick takers, and this is, to my mind, one of the greatest. Mori has great art. This is by Beth Sobel of Wingspan fame. You know, these cards are gorgeous looking. Mori is a must-follow trick taker, but there are some ways that you can break those must-follow rules. Dice are really important in this game. Each time you win a trick, you're going to get one of these dice, and dice can break that must-follow rule. Now, this would be like a purple card with a value of 0, so any other purple will beat it, but you might be able to play this as a trump and win a hand, even if you don't have any purple cards, for example. The dice really do mix things up because you've got ranked suits and you've got these rot dice, these X's that I will tell you about, but the dice do mix things up. So you're sort of fighting to maybe early in the round, you want to grab some dice so that you have more flexibility later on. You might be trying to win some early hands. That is kind of made more strategically complicated by the fact that you're not earning points based on the number of tricks you win. The cards have leaves and skulls on them. You can see the lower cards have 2 leaves, the cards in the middle have nothing, and then the high cards, the ones where it's easiest to win with, those have a skull. And you're earning points based on the number of leaves that you take, but you lose a point for each skull at the end of the round. There are 10 dice, but you're going to have more than 10 cards in your hand, and the cards that you're left with, the cards you hang on to, also count for points, either positive or negative. So whatever you're left at the end of the game goes into the tableau in front of you where you've placed the cards, the tricks that you've won along the way. So you've got ranked suits, you've got a clever use of points, you've got dice that allow you to break the rules, and then sort of the pièce de résistance, I would say, are these cards right here. Each player starts the game with 2 of these, and what you're trying to do here is be the player at the end of the round who has the second most. If you have the most of these rot cards, you lose a point for each one that you've got, but if you have the second most, you gain a point for each of these, and that includes those X's, those rot symbols on the dice. So if you grab dice early on that have these X's on them, that's going to give you some X's, but you can also give them away. If you lead with one of these rot cards and everyone else plays a rot card, you're going to be stuck with all of those. So it is a game where, I mean, it's a bit swingy in terms of the points because you could be in the lead one round and then get all of these X's at the end of the next one, and that's going to drop you points instead of gaining them. Honestly, that was not a knock for us when we played the game. It just made it more fun. It made it more tense, and it kept the players who were falling behind. They were still in the game. You never knew if maybe they were going to be able to catch up and get closer to winning. So it's a game that plays quickly. It's a game that is probably one of the most strategic trick-taking games I've played in recent memory. I think Seas of Strife maybe is another one that's kind of like that. But I prefer this one even over Seas of Strife because of the dice and because of that that mechanism of gaining points if you have the second most of something, but losing points if you have the most. That makes things a lot of fun, and it's tricky and strategic for that reason. So you got the quick playtime. You've got that strategic mechanism of wanting to have the second most cards. You've got these dice in a trick taker that break the rules. What a clever, clever game. That being said, I mean, it is still a game where you need a certain number of players, and I would say that about any trick taker. Uh, you have to have a game that's specifically designed for 2 players if you want to do trick taking, and this one plays best with more. It's a game where it's probably one of the few trick takers I've played where players might get bogged down in that kind of analysis paralysis trying to decide what they want to play on their turn. Uh, it's just such a clever game. I almost feel like it should be higher on the list, honestly, than number 6 because I really do love it. I know last time I said that I played Summoner Wars probably more than any other game, but Mori might be the one that I played the second most just because it's so quick. It often comes out as a filler or it gets played while we're waiting for the fourth person to arrive. So I absolutely love this thing. The way that the strategy changes if you get around where there's only one of these X dice rolled or only a couple, there's a lot of replayability here, and it's a very strategic trick taker. So I absolutely love Mori, and I cannot understand how it doesn't get a rating on Board Game Geek that's higher than 6.7 because wow, what a fun game and what a great time we've had every time we played it. This is a game that I think in the States it came out at the end of 2023, but I don't believe it delivered in Canada until 2024. So I'm going to still count this as a new one.
Number 5.
My number 5 game, the one that hits right in the middle of the top 10. My number 5 game, you might be able to guess it because the box is missing from the shelf behind me. This is a game called Skyrise that comes from Roxley Games. My copy is the numbered collector's edition. I did order this one on Kickstarter. This game has a 7.8 rating on Board Game Geek. I think I reviewed this one in May and said this might be one of the games of the year, and here we are. So I've set up the board. I haven't set up everything about this one because there's so many little bits that are going to go on all of these spaces on the board. This is a clever bidding game, and it's probably the game that helped me to realize that bidding and sort of auction style games are a lot of fun. I do really like that mechanism. And I hadn't played a lot of these kinds of games before, but you can see that the collector's edition is gorgeous. The regular edition is almost identical, almost equally so. We've got these wonders that are unique to each player color. And then you've got the buildings where the style is unique to the player color. The numbers are unique to each player color. And you are bidding on locations on the board. And then players are adding their buildings upside down so that you can see the number because all the buildings except for these wonders will stand on their head, allowing you to see, okay, what's the highest bid right now? And do I want to take that space or take some area on the board? The art is great. The production quality is incredible. The pieces are fantastic. This is a beautiful, beautiful game, and it is a highly strategic spatial bidding game because there are a lot of ways that you're trying to earn points in this game. You are trying to control a certain number of areas of a particular color. That's going to give you more points if you collect these little round chips that are on each of those areas. So the chips are assigned randomly. So if I'm trying to, I might be trying to get those green chips so that I can take over more of those green spaces, but not all the green spaces are going to have green chips on them because everything's at random. You've got a situation where you're going to earn points if you control bridges or if you've got areas that are around a lake or areas that are around one of these blimps that are on the map. So there are lots of different ways that you're going to earn points. Your wonder, when you place your wonder in the second round, the final round of the game, the wonder is also going to earn you some points. There are cards that you're going to, some goals that you'll have that will give you victory points when you play that wonder, and you're paring that goal down so that in the second round you know exactly, okay, if I play this, I know that I'm going to earn this many points, and you're working towards that goal. So there are lots of ways that you can earn points. The rules themselves, though, are super accessible. So this is another game, and I've talked about this probably again and again throughout the year, that if I can bring a game to the table that's easy to teach and learn because the rules are simple enough, and yet there's strategic depth, I love it. That's perfect. If it plays in under 2 hours, that's going to be 100% the kind of game that I want to play with my play group. And this really does hit that sweet spot. Plus, it's gorgeous with these components. Are there downsides? Not well. I don't think there are downsides too much to this game. It's one where, well, maybe once you get a bunch of the tall buildings on the table, they can block your view a little bit, but we never really had a problem with that. It is one where the strategies they're complex enough that in your first playthrough, you'll just be starting to appreciate what this game is all about. So you probably need to play it a few times before you can really say, okay, this is what I'm going to work towards this time. This is how I want to play this one. But it does get in your head, and you do want to play it again because it's beautiful, because it's quick enough, and because it's got these great components. And what I learned from playing it is that I really do like bidding games. Skyrise definitely knocks it out of the park. How is it not rated higher than 8 on Board Game Geek? I don't know. At least at the time of this recording, 7.8 was its score. But it's certainly, to me, it's definitely worth more than that. I'm almost scared to bring it to big board game events because it's the collector's edition. I don't want it to get all messed up, and I'm worried I might lose pieces if I bring it out in public. So it's when people come to see me here at the house, I'll often have this thing set up on the game table. It's even got point trackers that are these little zeppelins, but the zeppelins in the deluxe edition have this little nub on the top so that if you have the same number of points as another player, they can stack up on the same space. So really, like, even the organizer in the box is fantastic and keeps everything together. You've got another strategy for earning points where you'll get 10 points if you're the first one to play your final building, and 4 points if you're the second one. There's a little coin, but this is the key to the city, and it's this big metal key that has a little indent in the box organizer where you can hide it. The cards for your wonder points, and the cards that dictate that you're going to earn points for having buildings around lakes, are kind of gold foil on the back. I can't say enough good things about Skyrise, and like every Roxley game, it's gorgeous. I want to play it. I just set up this board. It's been a little while since I've played Skyrise, and I want to play it right now, just as I'm sitting here looking at it. So it's number 5. It could have been higher. I guess it depends on my mood. It has, like I said, been a minute since I played this one, but I love Skyrise by Roxley Games. I just want to mention one more thing before I put Skyrise away. And as I'm picking up all of the pieces here, I'm picking up these board pieces, which are lined up randomly. It's a modular board, but again, just so well thought out, this game. On the bottom, it indicates how to stack them up in the box so that everything fits and everything closes. So once again, Roxley, thanks so much for this design, because this would be a puzzle that I'd have to figure out every time I tried to put this game away.
Number 4.
Number 4 on my list is one you might be able to guess because it's missing again from the shelf behind me, because I've got the box here beside me at the table. This is a game that, if you've been following the videos along the way, you might know that right away I said this is one of the best games I've played in forever. It's the only abstract, well, one of the few abstract games I've played this year. I like abstracts, although I'm not very good at them. This is a fantastic abstract game that comes from BS Games, actually a Canadian publisher, a game called Sinoda. Now you can see the name of the game is on the side here, but there's no name on the front of the box, and you can actually use the top of the box as a second board. So the white part is a two-player board, and then around the outside is for multiple players. This, like I said, is from BS Games, and it's a game that, as I'm recording this, has an 8.8 rating at Board Game Geek. So super, might be the highest rated game out of all of the ones that I'm talking about in my top 10 list. What a fantastic game this is if you like abstracts. I've set it up for two players here. If I flip over this board, it's got the larger board like you saw on the box for multiple players. And Sinoda is a game that, like Skyrise, it's a game with simple rules, but it's still super strategic. This is a game that plays great with two players, three players, four, like the play count has not mattered. It's always been a good time when we brought this out. And it's super simple to learn and teach, and yet very strategic. It's a game where you're choosing either to increase or decrease the value of one of these dice on the board by one, or you can move one of these dice according to the number that's at the top. So if you've got a 3 here, I can move it 3 spaces, and I have to move it all 3 spaces. If I happen to land on an opponent's die by moving exactly 3 spaces, then I get to capture that die. That die is going to come over to the capture board, and I'm going to earn that number of points at the end of the game. Just everything about this game is clever and well designed. It's a game that plays very differently when you've got multiple players. Like I said, still fun, still strategic, but your strategy is going to be very different. But you can play this game at any play count. And because it's simple to teach and learn, this is a super fun one to bring out because it's just so easy to figure this one out. And then you want to play it again once you've got the moves figured out. You want to say to yourself, oh, maybe I should try that. Maybe I should try building up my dice first before I start moving things around. Like I said, I'm not very good at these abstract games. I do like to play them. My son is really good at these kinds of things, and he hasn't even tried. I don't think he's tried Sinoda yet, honestly. My son, who really likes abstracts, he's been so immersed in games like Unmatched or Senjutsu that this one maybe hasn't gotten pulled out. I can't recall if he's played it, but it's a great game with such simple mechanics but strategic depth. It plays quickly. This is a game that I really, really enjoy. I've been lucky enough to play a few games against one of the designers, but I got my copy, and you've got all of these dice with different colors, and they have kind of a marble finish on them. They're good looking dice. Do I have a complaint about this game? The only one is that, I wish the board was fancier. So we've got these fancy dice, and they really pop off that brown board, but I know as I played it, I was thinking, oh, I'd like to have a wooden board that I could play this on, or what if the board was lit from underneath and the dice were translucent? That would be a really cool thing too. What a great experience this thing is. You could get stuck really thinking about your turns. It is an abstract game, and it's very, I think, very chess-like, but it's really interesting in a way because you can play more than two players. Um, but it is a game where you'll really be sitting and thinking and counting out moves and making sure you have guards. And if I move here, then what's my opponent going to do next? It's just really clever, and it's a really great time. If you look on my Instagram and if you take a peek at the BS Games site, pretty much all of the players look the same while they're playing this game. Everybody is deep in thought. They've sort of got their hand on their chin, and they're trying to figure out what to do next. It's a real brain-burning exercise, despite the fact that you can only choose to do one thing or the other on your turn, move or adjust a die. And now I'm thinking when my son comes over for the Christmas break, we're definitely going to have to pull this out and make sure that he gets a chance to try it out with our play group. And that's it. That's number 4. So there's only 3 left here in this countdown. 3 games left to talk about, the top 3. We've talked about this last 3 are games that I absolutely love. What games could possibly be better than these ones that I've talked about today? But what a fantastic group of 3 games, and I cannot wait to tell you about my top 3. So we're through with the odds of the top 10. We're on our way to the very top of that list, to the peak what could possibly be the very best game of the year. Um, I can't wait to tell you more about it. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them, of course, in the comment section below the video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go. Previous ones are already up there. Brains on Games is the X handle and the Blue Sky feed and the Instagram page and the Facebook page. So we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.